Well, the Rabbi say we are learning Teire. So we learned that site test. Even though yesterday we went into the Mishnah, we'll go back to the Mishnah to start from the beginning of the parak. So we're starting at Yechezkel with base right in the Mishnah. Start the Mishnah. So look the Mishnah. Tvul Yoim is somebody who went to the mikvah. He's waiting for the evening to go. He has to wait for the evening until it becomes dark enough for him to return. Someone who went to the mikvah, waiting for the evening, but he still needs to bring his korbanos. There is Tosis discussed over here. Does he have to wait for the evening as well? The mashmos of the Mishnah, he does have to wait for the evening. Tosis says no, he doesn't. They don't get kosher that evening when they were not roy. They were not, meaning the kohen doing the avodah doesn't get a piece of kachim if he was not roy, meaning he wasn't appropriate. He wasn't able to get what was shechted. And it was, or more, we'll see more in the Gemara. The discussion, the definition is zrika. If there wasn't zrika, he can't do it. Oinen, someone who's oinen, which means one of his people in his family died. He could touch kachim. Ve'enu makriv, doesn't do a krava, not allowed to do a avodah. Ve'enu choyek lechol b'erev, he can't take a piece of meat treated that evening. Bali mumin, koyanim, they have a blemish. Pain bali mumin, it doesn't matter if the mum is a mum which will be healed or a mum which is going to be it's permanent. Cholkim, do take a piece of the meat and they can eat. Avaloi makriv, they can't do avodah. Kol she'einu roy la'avodah, not because of the rule. Someone doesn't do avodah, einu choylek, doesn't take a piece of the meat, which doesn't work the ba'amun, because ba'amun doesn't do avodah, and does take a piece of the meat. So the Gemara will address that. Kol she'einu abasar einu boyos, one doesn't have meat, doesn't have the skin, doesn't have the hides. Afilu tom shazvikas domim v'tor v'shaktecha, doesn't matter that he was tummy. When he did this zrika, he was tummy. In the evening, he was tar. Still, einu choylek abasar shema makriv es dam shlomim v'sachelim ne'aron, the one who puts the blood in the chelav of the mizbeach, lo yisiyah shekel l'mana, he gets the piece of meat to eat. So here you need to be roy for that precision. The Gemara will teach us, go through each one of them, each one of these things we learn in the Mishnah. Zok the Gemara that say this and without on top. How do we know this idea that there's someone who cannot when he does the zrika, he's not roy, he can't take a piece of the meat. It needs to be the one mechat is one does the zrika. Only kohen who does the zrika can eat. If you don't do the zrika, I mean he's not able to do the zrika, he cannot eat. Says more of a clothes, that's the rule. Very mishmaro kulo. What happens when you have the whole mishmar? The whole mishmar is the kohen, they can't eat, they can't to work that day, right? They're working that week. They're not doing the avodah. But the din is ein mechatim. Only one kohen is going to be doing the avodah right now. But you split the meat amongst all the kohen. So 1 second, you said he has to be the one doing the avodah, the one who's eating. So it needs to be someone who could do the avodah, even if he's not doing the avodah. Says the Gemara, what about a child? Child can't do the avodah, but he's going to he's allowed to give him to eat. Rashi brings, but says kol zoch any male, give it to his children. You said only someone can do avodah, can eat. A koto can't do avodah. So the Gemara, yechleno means not to eat, means to split the meat. Only someone can do the avodah. He could split the meat. The cutter can't split the meat. When they split the meat, the adult takes it. Wants to give his child to eat, he gives his child to eat. But he doesn't take a piece as well as any other coin. Says 1 second, they can't do avodah v'choylek. Says about mum, rabio. Special passage by mum. Says kol zocher b'kohanim the rabbis ba'amum. Says kol zocher to tell you even the ba'amum can eat. Says who said the aim of kol zocher the rabbis till yoyim. maybe it is tell you that it's coming to Mirabat Yoim that went to the mikvah but didn't wait for the evening. So when we stop, it makes sense about Mum. If I have to choose one, I have to choose Baal Mum. Shekanoicha. Baal Mum is allowed to eat. Right? Because it says when Kodashim Yerchal, it says clearly the person can eat. So if you can eat, you probably can also split in the meat. Says the Gemara, in the evening you'll be okay. Because you just have to wait for the evening. Baal Mum will never be okay. Or at least not at this current moment. This is where Hashtami Alechazi. But now he's not right. So if I have to pick and choose, I do the Baal Mum who is able to eat.
So Mishnah is not talking about eating who doesn't eat. She's talking about Yechezkel.
Right, exactly. That's exactly the point of the Gemara. The Gemara is saying that we're not discussing eating necessarily. I mean, there are halachas of eating, but what we spoke about is one is splitting, taking a piece of the meat. Says we just said we're not talking about eating, we're talking about splitting. So to say that. Kol basar, kol zachar yechlekena. Ma yechlena? That's the makor. The fact that I'm using the lashon achila tells you know who splits? The one who eats is the Baal Mum. That's very interesting. We see this. The kohanim need to be not a blemish to do avodah. You know, it's called the agency that takes care of disabled people. What do you mean? Discrimination over here. But the yisoid is that a kohen who does the avodah, that's the way Shmuel puts it. He does the avodah, he is so holy, it's not only the neshama, his guf is also doing the avodah. And if the guf is not full, so the pshat is that you have a chisaron in the doing the avodah. It's like a kli who's broken. You can't do the avodah. But achila you could eat. And Baal Mum is something there in the between.
You can look at the other way. Look, Hashem wanted him to be able to be at a certain level of the kahuna. But for whatever reason, his neshama is not right.
It says right down that this is the Baal Mum is really a reflection of something wrong in the neshama. Because the guf is doesn't mean is it by every time, every case? We don't say, but at least by a kohen who's doing avodas Hashem, that means he's something here that is not. Yes, there's something here that he's not ready to do avodah. Whatever reason of the neshama, we don't really know.
Lefty is considered a Baal Mum, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not a con.
You're not correct, exactly. What happens to Baal Mum who's Tomei as well? What's the shayla? This guy's not right to the avodah anyway. But the Torah says he can go do it. So maybe even as a Tomei, he will get a piece of meat. And not do avodah, he can get meat. Maybe I need to be able to eat. Because it's interesting when the Gemara is asking, the Gemara just established that he's based on the fact that he can eat. But once I told you that he could do it, so maybe even if he's Tomei, he takes it. No, I'm saying maybe because Torah in the night.
So if he's a Baal Mum as a Toyem?
Yeah, that will be the shayla. Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the having?
So sorry, I have to fix it. I apologize. It's a good shot. Good thing you pointed it out. We're talking over here. No, that's the next one. I apologize. Go back to that one. No, it is the one. Sorry. Rashi brings over here. That's what I wanted to point out. Rashi looks Rashi. Look Rashi. Mi korban tzibur lecholer. Or mi korban tzibur shekivu to'or kaybayilei pal geminei lai tome. Or the roy lechid korban tzibur doichetuma. That's the point. That's what we're trying to get to. We're talking about a korban tzibur. A korban tzibur. Tuma at least chuli b'tzibur. So a kohen tome could do avoid the korban tzibur. So we're talking. What we're talking about? We're talking about here that he's a tome, but a tome and korban tzibur can do an avodah. So the shaila is chuya, right? I'm reading the Rashi. I made the same mistake again. Yeah, Rashi is the next case. That's how I'm getting mixed up the whole time. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going back to the answer to your question because that the is going to be next. Right now, that's the next shayla of the Gemara. The Gemara would on your question. I'm going to say we talk about someone's going to be eventually will be Torah. You can't touch. You can't eat it as Torah. Can you take a piece? Maybe more than that. Now that I talk of it, we're doing chalukah. Chalukah means he wants to take a piece. Doesn't mean he's going to eat it. You give it to his son. You give it to his wife. If it's kosher kala, give it to somebody else. But does he get a piece of the korbanos? The fact that Balaam takes it, maybe if his Balaam also takes it anyway, he can't do avoid. That's a shayla Gemara. Says the Gemara, Omar Batoshba, Kohen Gadol Makriv Oinen Vein Oif. You have a Kohen Gadol who has an Oinen, does a krova, and he doesn't eat. Vein Oicholik Leichol Be'erev. So a Kohen Gadol has a special dispensation. Even though a regular Kohen who's an Oinen cannot do an avodah, Kohen Gadol who's an Oinen could do avodah. But even though he does the avodah, he won't take a piece of the meat. Shvamino, Shvamino. So what do you see from here? It all is determined based on the fact that you gave him a dispensation to the Kohen Gadol to be able to do avodah doesn't mean you can eat. It doesn't mean that. Sorry, there's the chalukah because the chalukah is dependent on achila only. So going back to your point, the Tomei can't eat because he's Tomei. So you say, the Torah give a dispensation even though he doesn't do avodah, he takes chalukah. So maybe if he can't eat, he does chalukah. No, all goes based on achila. Can't eat because he's Tomei.
Only if he's not.
Who?
Oinen?
No, Oinen can't eat because he's Oinen. There's a Oinen can't eat the meat.
Can't eat or can't do a krov?
You could do a regular Kohen can't do anything. Kohen Gadol could do a krov, can't eat. Yeah. So that's the word because you're right. Everything has to do with the chiyuv. That's the question that I quoted Rashi before. You have a Tom and korban tzibur mao shechakuloi. You can let him eat if it's korban tzibur, and you have a din of tumot tzibur. So Rashi adds over here that Tehorim did it. Tehorim did it. So you have to say, meaning the majority of Am Yisrael Thomas. That's what the Kohen Tomei could do it, but Kohen Tehorim did it because if it was done betuma, you don't eat. That's what we learn from Pesachim. So we're talking about that. It was done by Tehorim. Shall they give it to eat or not? It's a very simple question. Remember, he could do the avodah. Maybe he has to be roy lachila. Says the Gemara, Ma'avino Toshma the same raya. Kohen Gadol makiv oinen ve'ino oichel ve'ino choyeg lechol be'er. Shvamino v'lechil ve'ino shvamino. See, a Kohen Gadol could do the avodah, but it doesn't help him. You have to be able to eat. So it all goes. In order to do chalukah, you have to be able to do achila. Okay, zok the Gemara. Oinen nergia v'nomakiv oinen touches is not makiv. Oinen nergia, I can oinen touch. Mini oinen u'mechusu kiborim. He needs to go to the mikvah. Now, one of the reasons is because he touched the base because he's dealing with the base. No, he went to the mikvah. It's a good solution. Everything is okay. The mice is still oinen. Oinen makes a tam. He said clearly. And oinen went to the mikvah, doesn't help him. Hadas chadaita, adlo yas chadaita. You have a din mekotch you call hes chadas. When a person is not 100% focused on the kotchim, it's a problem. Why? Because you need to always make sure that you're shomer. Noinin is busy with other stuff. He's busy with his base. He's busy with alavaya. He's busy. So you see, he's basic das. His das really has two. Ashenken, if he went to the mikvah was not masich das, was very careful. It's okay. Says the Gemara, sechadas. Shlish v'shvi by. Someone who says chadas, he has to go. We'll give it a second just to. So. Yeah, okay. So the Gemara says chadas shlishi v'shvi boy, which means you have to sprinkle blood on him on the shlish on the third and the seventh day. Why? Because if his name says that, just touch the base. Touch the base. He has to do a full press of tahara. So why are you saying that you just wait for the evening? We just said you have to go to mikvah and you're good. You have to wait after the shlish v'shvi. It's more like kasher. Mitzvah mace. It depends what it was Messiah das from. If it was Messiah das for not maybe touching a mace, So then you choshish these tummy mace and you have to shvi. But if you see that's not touching a sheretz, which is a shorter tumor, that's a tumor you just go to the mikveh and you're good for the evening. Says the one second. Tummy sheretz tummy you have shemesh by. Sorry, I was magged in the mucha. The one said over here that oinen you just go to the mikveh and you're good to go. The Gemara asked 1 second, what does happen to goes to the mikveh? He's still tummy. Well, no, he didn't have a sekadas. So if he didn't have a sekadas, if he had a sekadas, so and that's why you have to go to the mikveh. So bishlish bishvi. So the Gemara says no, he had a sekadas to a sheretz. Says the Gemara, if you had a sekadas to a sheretz, so you need to have also have shemesh. Not only mikveh. What? Yeah. Oinen, when has sekadas from sheretz, it's not enough for him to go to the mikveh. He needs to wait for the evening, right? So you have to wait. And it's not enough just go to the mikveh. Oh, the feel true nami. Why are you saying only country? You say tzichet tefillah kodesh. You said you need tefillah kodesh. What do you mean you need tefillah kodesh? You need tefillah for truma as well, because truma means that you chodesh these topics. Hold on, if you're a boy, you shmarti midora metameni, v'lo shmarti midora puslani. I'll tell you what he did. He said, I was very careful not to become tameh. With what? With dover hamitameni, meaning tuma dor raisa. They need to have shemesh. I just became tameh dora puslani, which is kosher b'derabanan only for that day. I was very careful, Matt. I was very careful. All of the tumors that could cause me a tumor for the evening, like a sheretz, I was very careful not to touch it. There's some tumors derabanan, like tumors yadayim, let's say. So I wasn't so careful about that. And he made that one, I don't have to go to the mikveh. As Rashi says that also gabi truma, it's only something which is causing a problem for kodesh, not for truma. So he brings you the example because and just to give us a little bit of a background, truma, what's the thing that's placed on truma? What level? Shlishi. Rishon tuma, sheni tuma. Shlishi tuma is the level of truma. Like kodesh, you also go to revi, 4th level. So it's a more bigger tumor. So I'm very careful for this. Now this is Rashi. What points out, shinu etchiko. But lo we took a maskonachi. It's another gishmak answer. We're not saying the maskona. So Gemara says over here that we're talking about. The Gemara says he was careful one thing, not the other thing. That's what saying just do mikvah. That's the way for the evening. Says the Gemara, mikvah Jerusalem palga. There's such a thing of half a shmira. To eat, yes. By the time you figure rayo. We then know Hasal al Rosh. We're talking about a person is holding some kind of a basket on his head. Let's take this on the base. And he has in the sal, he has like a shovel made of metal. Or Rashi says it looks like Rashi says it's like a top of a it separates sticky figs. That's what we use it. Oh my He said, I'm very careful on the basket. I have my minds on the basket. The basket should not become tummy. But I'm not on the knife or the McGrafer. Hasal Torg, I'm a grateful tail. So the basket is Torg, the McGrafer is not. But the time of the McGrafer is not. Why do you say that the knife will make the basket tummy? Ain't clean metamically. The rule is the killing can be taken in midoraiso. Please, the time only oichel, not killing. But the time master says, why do you say the food becomes tummy? He said, I had in mind just to have a shmir or something, which is not to allow metame. The definition of metame is that it spreads to them. Metame means contagious. Poisel means containment, meaning tumor always rishon tumor makes sheni. The time sheni the tumor by chulin does not make shlishi, so that's poisel. He said he's very careful not to have tumor only soon, so it doesn't spread on. So what do you see if you're without going too much into all the details? You see here the same concept that someone has in mind for one thing, not for the other. So we gotta go meal so not to come in. I'll be able to He came for our memo. Omer le shmiya lo adom. Amarav. Also lechol umuter ligo. So 1 second. Rav told us a big insight. Someone eats 1/3 of truma, He's not allowed to eat kodesh. He's not allowed to eat kodesh, but he's allowed to touch kodesh. That's it. In right. As Rashi says, look at Rashi. Mutar liga b'tshuva. Sorry, Rashi's tshuva. Sorry. The ain't no nasa gufa l'shlishi. His body kol shlishi. Come on, Michael Shochel. Also lichol tshuva. Aval mutar liga. Meaning, there's a chumra legabe achila. Don't you become a certain level of tshuva? Don't eat tshuva. Alma says Rashi, ma'alois of rabbanim be'achila. The least tshuva nigiyah. Eating is different than touching. Tegavayim nami adnan oin noichot tzedvila la'achila dan avloget tzedvila. Rabbanim are more machmer, so there's an eating than touching. That's why by oinen we're more machmer. What it says you have to go to the mikvah, it's for eating. What he said, we have to wait for the evening. What he says you don't, have a nigiyah. That's what it says. And the Shidduch adds the words in the side. Not okay, so that's the more answers regarding it. Here's the one that says it says that someone who was tummy was tfuyoim, so he cannot eat. You don't give him to eat. You don't give him a piece to eat, even though in the evening he'll be taught. So the one it doesn't split. But he could eat. In the evening, if they come when he's tired, he says, "Come join us to Achila." He could eat. Sorry, I said Tluim. We're still talking about Oinen. And Oinen, someone who's an Oinen, so he has a din of that he's not allowed to eat. You consider it to be Tomei. So he's not taking a piece of the food. In the evening, he can eat. Why can he eat in the evening? So the for the whole sugi is that Ninus, the Isra, the concept of Oinen, Midoraisa is only during the day. That night, Midoraisa is not Oinen, Midorabbanan is not.
Like even if they didn't bury him yet, it's still Oinen.
Yeah, Oinen is because they didn't bury him. So we're talking about in the evening, it's considered to be Oinen, in the night is Darabbanan. So the Gemara says, here, the Midoraisa can take kosher. So the Gemara we're talking about, you can eat only Pesach, not kosher, because even though if they're Rabbanan said for Pesach, I'm going to let you eat Pesach. Other kosher, that. I'm not viewing medif to the kosher. Pesach, I'm a shayim or shon. It depends if it's Pesach or not. Pesach, either dochel Pesach and I'm a kosher. Shayis will show the lechosi. So that's what like this. And Oinen does not eat in the evening kosher. But if he's allowed to eat Pesach he's allowed to eat because there's an Easter kosher. Once he eats Pesach, he can eat other kosher that same night. Maybe he was invited for a meal with the Pesach, give him also shlovim. But if it's today, he can't. Yeah, right. And tonight he can't eat.
Yeah.
This is more my a little bit kosher. A little bit kosher should call a shot. What do kosher means? That was answer number one. No, but didn't know you do it. You do it with the gabi kosher, right? It doesn't have the Yeshiva.
Just the gabi kosher or the gabi other things also.
Yeah, because it's tuma. That's a problem. Very good. Meaning, if he died on the 14th and was buried on the 14th, so that night we don't let him eat kosher. But if he died on the 13th and on the 14th he was buried, so the night is only the night after Kavura, not after Misa, then you could eat kosher. Yoy Kavura, the top is Leilu Midarabanan. The Yoy Kavura doesn't have a din of Tfisas Leilu Midarabanan. Even though Rabbanan made the night the problem, it's only in your Misa, not your Kavura.
You know why? Because you have to be because Pesach you have to be connected and you have to be right in order to eat the Pesach. Before you have to be.
We're saying even if it's not Pesach, even Shar kosher. Even Shar kosher should be the same thing.
You could.
Yeah, you can eat in the night if it's not your Kavura, not your Misa. So now we're going with the night. It's not an the race. Who's the man? So we have Shimini, the Tanya, and Ninus Laim with the Vitoyu, the Rabbi Yudo. Yudo, the night is the Ninus with the rice. Shunaime, no Oinen with the Vitoyu and the Visoif. Call me the Rabbanon. Taida Sharon, Oinen, Toiva, Voices, Piscoler. That's the Raya. He can eat Pesach that evening. If he's owning the rice, he can't. I'm going to kosher. So we have so much Ninus Laim with the Rabbanon. But tell me they hold it's only the Rabbanon. About time of Shunaime, Oinen, Inu Shalab, the Karbonosov. Oh, you can't say this Karbonos. Why can't you say the Karbonos? In the night, it's going to be okay. I laugh for the Pesach because Pesach Rabbanon were making. Loy Levari Pesach. You're right. other country were more machmir on him, he can't cut with the night. The Pesach, he could. He could bring it with his shalom. Now he was oini. Now the Abbas is a toido. Ma'amir is a toido. She can nechol b'simcha k'shalom. How do I know they can't send korban toido? Because it has to be with simcha. Shalom. Minay la b'soil. They can't send his oini. And ma'amir is toido. She can bo b'nedu with the over k'shalom. They're learning everything for shalom. By shalom it says k'shu shalom. It has to be shalom, not oini. So you learn from the word shalomim. There has to be shalom. So they go, okay, that's very nice. Legabe shalom. What about toido? Toido is like shalom. What about oida? It's like shalom. Now the rabbi is bechor u'maiser. No, we didn't get there. Now the rabbi is bechor u'maiser pesach. What about bechor u'maiser pesach? Rabbi bechor u'maiser pesach can ain't on boyim al chet. They also don't come al chet like pesach. Mean how the rabbi is chadazu ashar. I would like that big apostle. Zevach says zevach shlom. Mean how the rabbi so oifa is the birds are not zevach. Zevach is only animals. V'amenocha is the flour. V'ayayin the wine. V'ayitzim even the wood. That he can't bring. V'alavoino, which is the spices. The word korbanoi. Called korbanoi should be kishushon maybe vein of kishoy.
Everything in the carbon.
Everything has a big carbon. So you see over here the what?
Korbanoi. Everything.
Yeah, the other thing that he brings. You see over here the what? You see that oil can't bring. Tanim your pesach. It says your pesach can't bring. You said according to if you hold the body, you can bring pesach. Lavchizda pesach kedeinas. You're right. Pesach. You can't bring anything else. Kedeinas it means like agavurcha. They just brought it really, which is not true. Pesach is not really even though it says B'chor Ma'aser Pesach, I mean really B'chor Ma'aser Pesach you really don't add because they were abundant do not let you really very milk or carbs. Shesh Zoma my Pesach Shalmei Pesach. Pesach doesn't mean Pesach. Pesach means the shlomim that come with the Pesach.
What are the forms of Pesach?
That's the korban. The korbanos you bring with the Pesach is the korban simcha. I don't think it's the chigi. I think it's the simcha. No, that's chigi. You're right. It's chigi. It's chagiga when you have too many people in the chabura. You bring chagiga with it, not simcha. Simcha you bring the other day. Tana shlomi aboy machas pesach. Just says the Gemara. Yeah, shlomim. We just said shlomim. So why is it twice? So Tana shlomi aboy machas pesach. Tana shlomi aboy machas atzma. There's two shlomim. Show you they come because of Pesach. Show you because of the own. Tana shlomi aboy machas pesach. Say the chamino il machas pesach. So you give the Pesach that. If not, I would say maybe whatever comes with the Pesach is like the Pesach. Kamash Malan, then they're not like the Pesach and carry the Shlomo. Very good. So this will stop. What is more came to say? And Oinen is, in our case, and the night after the where you're going with the Shita, the night after Alinus is there a Rabbanah. And mainly you're not allowed to bring any Karbonas because Rabbanah were machmir in all the Karbonas, except Korban Pesach, where Rabbanah were Mekel.
Or because of Korbanoi or Stam or Zevach or no Zevach.
And by the way, all the psukim that we said before, it's all Smachta B'alma, as Rashi points out, because of that, how can you bring any Korban? Wait, he says only the Rabbanim. The Rabbanim are Smachta B'alma, except for Korban Pesach.
The Korban Pesach, because it's Paris, basically. That's the reason why.
Yes, Rabbanim were not machmir Korban Pesach.